The Second World War was a global conflict that reshaped the political and social landscape of the 20th century. Japan's role in this war was significant, as it aimed to establish itself as a dominant power in the Asia-Pacific region. This analysis will explore Japan's motivations, strategies, and the consequences of its actions during the war, covering its military campaigns, political alliances, and eventual defeat. Background: Japan's path to war. Japan's involvement in World War II was driven by a combination of political, economic, and ideological factors. By the early 20th century, Japan had emerged as a major power following victories in the First Sino-Japanese War, 1894 to 1895, and the Russo-Japanese War, 1904-1905. However, its ambitions were far from satiated. Japan sought to expand its empire to secure natural resources and markets for its growing industrial economy. The global economic depression of the 1930s hit Japan hard, exacerbating domestic discontent. In response, Japan turned to militarism and ultranationalism. The military gained significant influence over the government, promoting an aggressive foreign policy aimed at territorial expansion. The invasion of Manchuria in 1931 and the establishment of the puppet state of Manchukuo marked the beginning of Japan's imperial ambitions in Asia. The Second Sino-Japanese War, which began in 1937, further demonstrated Japan's determination to dominate China. Despite initial successes, the war became a protracted and costly conflict, straining Japan's resources and heightening tensions with Western powers, particularly the United States. Japan's entry into World War II. Japan's entry into World War II was precipitated by its expansionist policies and conflicts with Western colonial powers in Asia. In 1940, Japan signed the Tripartite Pact with Germany and Italy, forming the Axis powers. This alliance aimed to deter the United States from interfering in their territorial ambitions. Tensions between Japan and the United States escalated due to Japan's aggressive actions in Southeast Asia and its occupation of French Indochina. In response, the U.S. imposed economic sanctions, including an embargo on oil exports, which threatened Japan's energy supplies and military capabilities. Facing a dire situation, Japan decided to launch a preemptive strike to secure its strategic objectives. The attack on Pearl Harbor. On December 7, 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The attack aimed to cripple the U.S. Pacific Fleet, giving Japan free rein to conquer Southeast Asia and the Pacific. The assault was devastating, sinking or damaging 8 battleships and numerous other vessels while killing over 2,400 Americans. The attack on Pearl Harbor marked Japan's formal entry into World War II and led to the United States declaring war on Japan the following day. Shortly thereafter, Germany and Italy declared war on the U.S., solidifying the global conflict. In the early stages of the war, Japan achieved a series of rapid and decisive victories. It overran British, Dutch, and American territories in Southeast Asia and the Pacific, including Hong Kong, Singapore, the Philippines, and the Dutch East Indies, modern-day Indonesia. These conquests provided Japan with vital resources, particularly oil, rubber, and tin. Japan's military strategy was based on the concept of creating a Greater East Asia co-prosperity sphere, a bloc of Asian nations led by Japan and free from Western influence. In reality, this policy was a guise for Japanese domination and exploitation of the region's resources and people. Turning point: the Battle of Midway. Japan's string of victories came to an abrupt halt in June 1942 at the Battle of Midway. The U.S. Navy, having cracked Japanese naval codes, anticipated and ambushed Japan's fleet. The battle resulted in the loss of 4 Japanese aircraft carriers, a severe blow to Japan's naval power. Midway marked a turning point in the Pacific War, as it shifted the balance of power in favor of the Allies. From this point onward, Japan was largely on the defensive, struggling to maintain its vast empire against increasingly coordinated Allied offensives. The Allied counteroffensive. Following Midway, the Allies launched a series of counteroffensives to reclaim territories occupied by Japan. The Guadalcanal Campaign, 1942 to 1943, was the first major Allied offensive in the Pacific. It was a grueling battle that marked the beginning of Japan's gradual retreat. The island-hopping strategy employed by the Allies aimed to bypass heavily fortified Japanese positions, capturing strategically important islands and using them as bases for further advances. Key victories at Saipan, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa brought the Allies closer to Japan's home islands, enabling intense bombing campaigns against Japanese cities. The home front and total war. As the war dragged on, Japan faced severe economic and social challenges. The government implemented a policy of total war, mobilizing all available resources for the war effort. Rationing, conscription, and forced labor became widespread, placing immense strain on the civilian population. The bombing of Japanese cities, particularly the firebombing of Tokyo in March 1945, caused widespread devastation and civilian casualties. Despite mounting losses and deteriorating living conditions, the Japanese government continued to resist surrender, emphasizing the need to defend the homeland at all costs. The atomic bombings and Japan's surrender. The final phase of the war saw the use of a new and devastating weapon, the atomic bomb. On August 6, 1945, the United States dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, killing an estimated 70,000 people instantly and causing widespread destruction. 3 days later, a second bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, resulting in similar devastation. The atomic bombings, combined with the Soviet Union's declaration of war on Japan and invasion of Manchuria, forced Japan to confront the reality of imminent defeat. On August 15, 1945, Emperor Hirohito announced Japan's surrender in a radio broadcast, marking the end of World War II. Consequences and aftermath. Japan's defeat in World War II had profound and far-reaching consequences. The country was subjected to Allied occupation, led by the United States under General Douglas MacArthur. The occupation aimed to demilitarize Japan, democratize its political system, and rebuild its economy. The post-war period saw the adoption of a new constitution in 1947, which renounced war and prohibited Japan from maintaining offensive military forces. The emperor's role was also redefined, transitioning from a divine figure to a symbolic head of state. Economically, Japan underwent a remarkable transformation, rebuilding its industrial base and becoming a leading global economy by the late 20th century. However, the war left a lasting legacy, including deep-seated resentment in many Asian countries over Japan's wartime actions and atrocities, such as the Nanking Massacre and the use of forced labor and comfort women. Japan's role in World War II was marked by its aggressive pursuit of empire, its initial military successes, and its eventual defeat. The war had a profound impact on Japan, reshaping its political, social, and economic structures. While the war's legacy remains a contentious issue, Japan's post-war recovery and commitment to peace have been widely regarded as a testament to its resilience and adaptability.